Hello, my name is Ava Bryan, and my presentation is titled The Road to Vote. So my research question that I'm presenting for today is, should the U.S. government require fast fashion companies to take financial responsibility for textile waste through extended producer responsibility laws to help reduce environmental damage? Now, my research question came from my reading and drawing of a theme from two sources: Stimulus 3, How Roads Have Transformed the Natural World by Ben Goldfarb, and Stimulus 2, The Sustainability Assessment of Low Earth Orbit Satellite Broadband Net Constellations. So, in my readings of this, they both talk about two different systems. Stimulus 3 about the roads and Stimulus 7 about the satellites, and how while they do have a bunch of pros for humans and themselves, with roads providing transportation and satellites providing internet connection, they also pose a lot of negative and harmful threats to the environment, which led my drawing of the theme of the hidden environmental damage of systems meant for human convenience. According to the EPA, transportation accounted for the largest portion, about 28%, of total greenhouse gas emissions in the U.S. This is just one specific way in which the roads negatively affect our environment, through the waste that is produced by the cars and trucks that utilize them. But another way that they affect our environment is through habitat fragmentation, in which whenever they clear the land to make the roads, it also destroys the natural ecosystems prevalent in that area, which leads to an increase in wildlife mortality. A quote from Ben Goldfarb's article from the Smithsonian, How Roads Have Transformed the Natural World, says that a half century ago, just 3% of land-dwelling mammals met their end on the road, but by 2017, that toll had quadrupled, and is only continuing to increase. But thankfully, the U.S. government has been able to step in and bring some regulations against these road construction companies through things such as erosion and sediment control plans, land disturbance limits, habitat and water protection, and runoff control. But I would like to present another system that creates another environmentally damaging parallel: fashion, particularly fast fashion. Now, fast fashion, a term first coined by the New York Times in the 1990s, is a term describing the rapid production of inexpensive, low-quality clothing that often mimics popular styles of fashion labels, big-name designers, and big-name brands, and independent designers. This comes from Britannica, a simple definition. But essentially, fast fashion relies on exactly what it says: the inexpensiveness and the low quality of their products. This industry has only become more prevalent due to the overconsumption that is encouraged by social media in our economy, and so oftentimes they value the quantity over the quality of their products. And just some quick, just to show how much this is grown, Emily Wang in her New York Times article says that Shein, which is a very famous fast fashion brand, has become popular by producing clothing based on current trends, is now valued at $100 billion, which is more than H&M and Zara, which two other rival fast fashion companies combined. And just some quick statistics about how much damage this actually does to the environment. Its carbon footprint is 11 times greater than conventional fashion wear, and it produces around 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions globally, not just the US, globally. And it also uses 79 billion cubic meters of water per year, making it one of the most water wasteful industries out there. So my solution that I bring forward today is extended producer responsibility laws. Now, EPR laws, which is the abbreviation for extended producer responsibility laws, is an environmental policy in which a producer's responsibility for their product extends beyond the post-consumer stage. So a company's responsibility doesn't just stop after their product is bought, it continues to when it is discarded. Now, this is a graph from Akhtar's article on the role of EPR in reducing textile waste. And this is a graph just to show how these EPR laws promote a circular economy, in which whenever the product is discarded, it's then collected and sorted, put back into the system of recycle and repair, and then put back on the market. This helps significantly reduce the textile waste and reduce the amount of waste in landfills. But one major gripe that many people have with this argument is that because this industry is a global one, even if a company is based in one country, it relies on the factories and employees and others, is that because of this large scale, these laws would be difficult to implement. But the thing is, that's not true. The systems do exist, they just need to be repurposed. The problem is that the system is built for speed and profit, not for accountability. It is already used in sourcing, shipping, and tracing their resources. So essentially, if it can track where a cotton t-shirt is made, it can also be reorganized into tracking emissions and other environmental damage. And extended producer responsibility laws have already been shown to work, as in countries that have these laws, such as British Columbia, Belgium, Spain, South Korea, and the Netherlands, the recycling rates have increased to about 75% according to the Recycling Partnership, and has collected about 770 million pounds from landfills. As famous fashion designer Vivienne Westwood once said, buy less, choose well, make it last. This system has, this problem has just grown and grown to be more prevalent, and it not only affects the environment, it also affects people, especially those in low-income countries in which their countries do not have the means to help stop their country from being made into a dumping ground for these companies that take advantage of them. And the damage to the environment is only going to get worse, as the UN Environmental Program says that these emissions could rise by over 50% by 2030, which is only 4 years away. So I implore you, buy less, choose well, make it last. And these are my works cited. My works cited.
Thank you, Ava, for sharing that.
Uh-huh.
Some follow-up questions for you. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the research process? Did your research go in a different direction than you originally planned or hypothesized?
Yes, it did go in a different direction than I wanted to. At first, I just wanted to talk about the fashion brand just in general, which would include conventional fashion wear and other luxury brands possibly, like Dior, Prada, other things that are more well known. But as I continued my research, I just found so many articles discussing the issue of fast fashion and how that is really the main part of the industry that contributes to all this waste. So my problem essentially just went from being this overall broad thing into having me go into a more specific narrow field. And this was also, the idea was also brought on by my own personal things that entertainment that I enjoy watching, and which I got a lot of videos and essays on things discussing this. So that also helped me formulate my research question as I continued.
And then if you were to advise somebody, another researcher into this topic, what advice would you offer them?
I would probably offer them my advice and just what sources they choose. Specifically, choosing good sources and also choosing sources that are specific to this. I used a lot of fashion sources. So I would just say making sure their sources are good, but also, again, having a narrow field. The fashion industry is a very wide thing. So there are multiple other things that you could research. For this, I just chose environmental damage from fast fashion. There's also a bunch of other things, and something else I saw in my research about possible labor scandals, unequal pay, the damage of factories, and unsafe living conditions. So that's something I would also recommend, is just making sure that you know what you're talking about and what you want to.
Thank you so much.